Hello students, welcome to EPG Patashala. I am Dr. Basavaprabhu Jirli from Banaras Hindu University. Today we will be discussing about a module on training and visit system of extension from the paper Concept and Dimensions of Extension Education. In our previous module, we have observed various dimensions of extension wherein we made a deliberate attempt to understand, to broaden our mental horizon. With that background, now coming to this module on training and visit system, the objective of this module is to understand the dedicated and institutionalized technology transfer mechanism, that is training and visit system. The training and visit system, popularly known as reorganized extension system. Even though there was administrative infrastructure available with the community development program, which we will be discussing at length, the program on community development, there were no specialized manpower to address the problems of the farmers. When we talk of this reorganized extension system, what was the base system that was existing from where we started this reorganization process? When we look into the history of the development initiatives in extension, agricultural extension or the extension education aspects, there were no dedicated institutions were there to provide services to the clientele, the target groups. So, in the first attempt, in case of Gurgaon experiment, the concept of village guide was introduced, which dealt with a particular individual with a limited amount of training visiting the village, and he is trying to address the problems of the farmers. Even though that particular experiment did not yield much as per the expectations, but that gave us the input that if there is one dedicated element, it is going to address a good number of problems of the society. The similar type of administrative structure was evolved under community development program, wherein we try to have it as a multidisciplinary extension workers. The village level of extension workers, who were the link between the community and the institution or the government, because of this linkage, the expectation of the people started rising. With the introduction of this community development program, subsequent support and participation of the people in such development programs, people started expecting more and more, but the person who was delivering the things at the grassroots level was not that well equipped. So, with this, coming to the next issue, that is where, because of the absence of this dedicated extension mechanism, there was not enough trained people to address the elevated expectations of the society, and a gulf was being created between the expectation of the people and the government institutions. To bridge this particular gap, the training and visit system was introduced. The mechanism that was prepared under community development program was reorganized into training and visit system. This particular system was not only introduced in India, but like various other developing and underdeveloped countries were the beneficiaries of this particular program. Basically, this program was supported by World Bank, and it was introduced in India in the year 1974. The command areas of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan were the primary targets of this particular program on training and visit system. The person who developed this particular program was Daniel Banner, and that is why it is popularly also known as the Banner system. As I have said, in many of the developing nations and the underdeveloped nations, this particular model was introduced. Various agricultural research institutions were coming out with good number of innovations. As we go back to the history of agricultural research in India, the institutionalized research starts with 1905 with the establishment of the research institution at Pusa and the establishment of various agricultural colleges in the year 1904. These institutions were adding to the domain of agriculture, the research as well as the technology. But there was a need for an institution which can take up this transfer of technology process on a regular basis for the benefit of clients. That is how the training and visit system came into existence. Benner and Baxter, 1984, identified the elements like professionalism, single line of command, concentration of efforts, time-bound work, field and farmer orientation, regular and continuous training, and linkage with research as a key features of training and visit system. Now, we will be understanding these key features one by one. To begin with, the first key feature, that is professionalism. To be professional, the key input is information input. Regular updating of information makes an individual more professional. Hence, the inbuilt mechanism under training and visit system was to have regular interaction with research system. Vice versa is beneficial to research system also because they are getting regular feedback from the field. In the entire training and visit system, only those people trained in agricultural sciences were the part. When we have homogeneous academic background in personnel, it makes them more professional. The second key feature of a training and visit system is single line of command. Extension services are just like conglomerates. Various units are essential and each has its role to play. As we have seen during the discussion on dimensions of extension, the input dimension explained all that. With all these, the extension professionals must have an administrative control. Even though there are various units in the same direction, there should not be administrative dichotomy for the personnel. The unit which is giving administrative control should have the technical control also. In simple words, one boss to report and one subordinate to extract report. A perfect subordinate and superordinate relationship that exists in case of training and visit system, which makes them in a single line of command. While discussing the key features of training and visit system, we have already discussed regarding the professionalism and single line of command, which are totally distinct from the other mechanisms or the efforts that we have discussed so far. Now, coming to the third important key feature of this training and visit system, that is concentration of efforts. In the previous efforts, whenever we have employed or we have trained a particular extension professional for taking up a particular activity with a clientele group, apart from the responsibility of providing extension services, he was loaded with various other responsibilities also. It is not only in case of community development program, in all other efforts such things were happening. So, what happens when we provide them or when we attach them with various other activities also? So, then there will be dilution of the efforts what we have the main effort, that is the dissemination of technologies. The extension professional is not able to devote his complete time and energy and all other resources for the purpose of transfer of technology. May it be dealing with the housewives in case of home science, or may it be dealing with the farmers in case of agriculture technology, or may it be dealing with the dairy professionals in case of dairy extension activities. So, to bring them all these people under one particular umbrella of providing the extension services, the concentration of efforts element reveals that you give them only one task at a particular point of time. All extension professionals should carry out only the extension activities depending on their prefixes. Because the suffix extension remains constant, the prefix is going to be changed. In case of home science, we say that it is home science extension. In case of agriculture, we say that agricultural extension. We have horticultural extension, sericulture extension, fisheries extension, forestry extension, so on and so forth. Whatever may be your prefix, but the extension is a common feature for all these things, which emphasizes on the target to be achieved as far as the prefix is considered, may it be agriculture or horticulture or fishery or home science or whatever it is. Otherwise, there will be diversion of energy of the personnel and the basic work of the extension get diluted. And this is what had happened with the previous efforts. So, that is why under training and visit system, so they were not at all assigned any other responsibilities apart from imparting the educational activities on agriculture and allied sciences. Otherwise, they can escape from these responsibilities by giving the efforts that are being made in other directions. It becomes one of the way for escapism for that particular person. The fourth feature of training and visit system is time-bound work. Agricultural operations are time-bound. Seasons are time-specific. If you miss the time, you will miss the season. If you miss the season, you miss the economy. It is a chain reaction. Hence, the experienced people say, if you respect time, time will respect you. Training and visit system also adopts the same approach. There are works spelled based on the time. Every village level worker will have to visit the pre-decided villages and establish linkages with the contact farmers. Every extension officer has a schedule of field visits and has to organize regular training for VLWs. At higher level, state and national level, officers are involved in field visits and pre-seasonal workshops to develop strategy for the forthcoming season. Hence, every individual involved in training and visit system has a timetable to follow, which makes them more professional because they are adopting the time. Time is very crucial in case of all agricultural operations. Not only in agriculture, in case of home science also it plays a key role. For dissemination of any information regarding, may it be nutrition or may it be health related, so time plays a dominant role. The common diseases that we come across are appearing in a specific time of a particular year, and every year we find the incidences of those type of diseases spreading all over the country, in different parts of the country where health and hygiene issues are neglected. Hence, the home scientists are also having a lot of time-bound work. In that context, we need to understand the importance of time in the extension education as well as extension service efforts. In the previous key feature of this training and visit system, wherein we have seen the time-bound element, time-bound work, and because agriculture is totally time-bound, all the operations need to be taken up at a particular time, and that is where the role of the time-bound work comes into the picture. In that context, the next element that we are going to deal with is field and farmer orientation. If we want to take up the time-bound work, the extension professional has to be farmer oriented and has to be field oriented. In case of extension methodologies, we come across the primary methodologies like the flag method, farm and home visit. All these things are emphasizing on the farmer orientation and the field orientation. Why it becomes very necessary to have the farmer and field orientation? As I said, agricultural production process or dealing with the housewives in case of homestead technologies, these are the living systems that we have, and the extension mechanism is to deal with these living systems. When we are dealing with these living systems and they are highly dynamic in nature, may it be the crop or may it be the individual, both are having their own local dynamics. To deal with these dynamic systems, there needs to be an element, and that element we try to identify it as an extension agency. Until and unless there is farmer and field orientation, the extension professional cannot be successful and he cannot establish the linkages between the research system as well as its client system. That is where the role of the extension professional comes into the picture for establishing the linkages and to take care of the farmer and field orientation. To enhance the process of learning, there should be regular face-to-face interaction, which is very essential. Whatever the methodologies that we are going to adopt with the revolution in communication technologies, with the revolution in information communication technologies, there are various types of interfaces that we can provide to our learners, but there is no alternative to the face-to-face learning system. And that is what is emphasized in case of training and visit system with the elements like field and farmer orientation. The learnings are going to be at the maximum level or at the peak level in the case of face-to-face interaction. That is why it is very essential. Then coming to the next feature, that is regular and continuous training. The mechanism that was developed under training and visit system is totally unique to all the programs that were implemented and that we are going to anticipate in the near future. The field level extension workers were having a perfect cycle of 14 days field visit, and on every 15th day they have to report to their headquarter, their extension officer, for the purpose of training. One particular day of training, they will be giving the feedback to their higher ups what they have observed in the past 14 days at the field level, and they will be getting the inputs in the coming 14 days what they are expected to take up in the field level. So, that is what is the agenda of regular and continuous training, and it is going to be in a manner of cyclic operation. It is not that one particular month or in one particular season we are going to have it, no. It is going to be a continuous process of on every, you have a 14 days cycle of visit and 15th day you are reporting to your headquarter. Is it that it is limited to only the ground level workers, the VLWs or the village level extension workers? No. Each and every individual, starting from your village level extension worker to the director of extension, who is the state level head, has to undergo this particular process. I have given you the example of the ground level extension worker, the village level extension worker, who is the organic link between the client and the institution, that is training and visit system or the Department of Agriculture. Then comes to the next level of operation, that is the agricultural extension officers. They are also having a particular cycle of minimum of 8 days field visit, and it is the responsibility to organize the training program for their VLWs. The next level officers, subdivisional agricultural extension officers, and the district agriculture officer, the joint director agriculture at the zonal level, are going to attend the pre-seasonal meetings, and they are going to develop the strategies for the forthcoming season. And apart from that, they have the additional responsibilities of arranging the inputs for taking up the next seasons. The directors of agriculture are going to represent the problems of their respective state at the national level with before the Union Ministry of Agriculture in the pre-seasonal workshops which are being conducted before each and every season. Means there are 3 seasons, there will be 3 pre-seasonal workshops. So, each and every individual involved in the training and visit system is having a regular and continuous training process. The last and but not the least feature of training and visit system is linkage with the research. We have been emphasizing on linkages time and again. There should be certain organic relations and perfect backward as well as forward linkages for successful extension service activities. Effective linkages depends on linkages with extension and vice versa. Extension and research are interdependent because research is giving the technological input for extension services and extension is providing the feedback for the technologies that are disseminated at the field level. As we have been discussing since beginning, the process remains same, the technologies are going to change. May it be home science technology, or may it be agriculture, or may it be any other technology for that matter, but the issues of linkage are going to be there. Hence we need to give maximum emphasis for the linkages with the research. Efficient linkages provide a definite relationship to the linkages. Both these systems cannot find their existence without each other. What are these? Both the system that we are referring to, that is the research system and the extension system. Without linkage, both of them are not having any existence. So hence, when they come together, there we see the perfect relationship. After understanding the concept and the feature of training and visit system, now let us look into the model of training and visit system. Let us start understanding this model from the lowest level links. The lowest level links in training and visit system is contact farmer, who is representing a group of 10 farmers. A group of 10 farmers, there is one contact farmer. Contact farmer passes on the information to his group which he is getting from the village level extension worker or VLW. VLWs are the primary level link between the community and the administration. VLWs have a cycle of visit to their target areas for 14 days. And on 15th day, they have to report to the headquarters for training program. Again, on 16th day, they will begin with the field visit of the respective area. This is how the grassroots people are taking care of for their information needs. On what particular day he is going to visit what particular village and how many number of contact farmers he is going to visit, a timetable is going to be pre-decided and it is circulated among the higher-ups, the extension officers and above, as well as the contact farmers. Both these agencies are aware of the schedule of visits of these VLWs. Agricultural Extension Officer is the second level of officer that we find in training and visit system. Basically, he is a graduate in agriculture, mainly provides technical information support for extension services. The basic function of Agricultural Extension Officer include providing technical information support to VLWs and regular appraisal and review of organizational aspects. Also, he visits at least 8 days of field visit in a fortnight. During field visits, review of the progress made in the last fortnight and information is passed on without much distortion or not. He is going to check all these things. Also, he addresses the local level problems, if any, and if any problems are being faced by the village level extension workers at the grassroots level. The third level officers are at the sub-divisional. In some states, we try to identify it as a taluka. Subdivisional extension officer. Subdivisional extension officer is the in charge of about 6 to 8 agricultural extension officers of the subdivision. Takes the stock of situation by reviewing the work of VLWs and agricultural extension officers. He is visiting the contact farmers at regular intervals for the first-hand feedback. SDAEO is supported by a team of subject matter specialists, one each for agronomy, plant protection, training officer, etc. The problems reported at the field level are being addressed by these subject matter specialists primarily. If they are not able to provide satisfactory solutions to the problems faced at the field level, they will refer these problems to the respective state agricultural universities or the research institutions for obtaining the solutions. Also, these subject matter specialists impart training to VLWs at every fortnight. Then comes the role of district agriculture officer, who is the in charge of a district. On all issues related to agriculture, DAO is responsible at the district level. He monitors the works of SDAEO and AEOs, also the village level extension workers. He visits the field and gets the feedback from VLWs, contact farmers, and the people down the lane. He acts as a link between the agricultural inputs and other support services, because in a particular district, the district agriculture officer is responsible for not only providing the services but also to ensure the input and other information services. Also, he is the key person to establish linkages with the research system. At the state level, we have the Director of Agriculture, which is the nodal agency at the state level, overall in charge of all operations related to agriculture in the state. Currently, the system has seen many changes at organizational level. When the system training and visit system was reviewed, apart from its key features and various positive impacts on the society, there were some limitations that we will be discussing one by one. Friends, I am sure by now you might have understood the model of training and visit system, how it operates at different levels, starting from the concept of the contact farmer to the role of the director in this particular training and visit system. After understanding this model of training and visit system, now we will move on to the limitations of training and visit system. The program or the training and visit system was basically staff intensive. This you might have visualized in the model itself. There is a concept of contact farmer, and for a group of contact farmers there is one village level extension workers. For every group of village level workers there is one extension officer. For every group of extension officers there is one subdivisional agricultural extension officer. A group of subdivisional extension officers there is one director district agriculture officer, and for a group of district agriculture officers there is one joint director of agriculture, and the structure goes on. So, earlier we were having a basic complaint that there is a lack of staff or the trained professionals in case of providing the extension services. But we have introduced such a system where now we are staff intensive. So, with this staff intensive process, it is, as long as it was under the control of the World Bank and it was providing financial support to this particular model, there was not much problem. But we started facing the problem when the World Bank stopped its financial assistance in the 1990s. So, this was the major limitation of this particular model. Coming to the next issue, that is, except crop production, almost all allied enterprises of agriculture were not given any efforts in this particular model. Maybe we are justifying this particular act because at that time our priority was to achieve self-sufficiency in food grain production. Because of that, the crop production was given highest emphasis. As we say time and again, agriculture is having an element of culture, and agriculture is part of Indian culture. And we cannot look into agriculture in isolation. There are various other enterprises which are organically attached with agriculture, like animal husbandry, poultry, goatry, FOM production, and various other enterprises organically attached with the agriculture. If we are not giving any emphasis on these allied enterprises, only one enterprise is going to be strong and others are going to be weak, and this is what was perceived by the client system themselves. The third limitation that we come across is the information for the farmers in many cases was of routine type. In one of the features of extension, we said that regular and continuous training. What does it mean? At every 15th day, there was a training for the village level extension worker. At every month, there was a training for extension officers. There were pre-seasonal workshops and there were meetings at the national and the state level. At every 14th or 15th day, what type of new research outcomes that we are going to inculcate into the village level extension workers. So, this was the major issue. After completion of one season or after completion of one crop year, when we move on to the next year, subsequent year, the information is definitely of routine type. The same piece of information is being repeated again and again, because as I have already said in one of our earlier part of the discussion, it is a biological system and it is highly dynamic in nature. The problems are changing at regular intervals, but to find the solutions to these problems that we are facing, it takes its own time. In a span of 15 days or in a span of 14 days, we cannot come out with the dynamic research outcome and we say that yes, this is the solution for this. It takes its own time. But the client system started feeling that it is the routine type of information, repetition of the information or the redundant information that we are getting at regular interval, and that is why we have listed it under the limitation of the training and visit system. In the training, this is the very important aspect. In the training, the emphasis was on technology. We were loading the extension professionals or the personnel at the grassroots level with the technological aspects. But none of the efforts were made to inculcate the extension methods, the management techniques which were equally important. If we can give a certain weightage to these technological inputs, the same weightage should be given to the extension methodologies also. That part was not taken care of under training and visit system, and that is why these extension professionals, the personnel who were working at the grassroots level, were not able to motivate their client system to take up the technologies or to disseminate these technologies among the farming community. In continuation of the limitations that we are discussing under that of the T&V system, in states having separate directorates of horticulture, soil and water conservation, etc., flow of information to the farmers in these areas was very scanty. Many states were having separate directorates to support the farmers. But due to lack of information in these areas, they were facing problems in providing appropriate information to the people. At times, it was felt that many of the systems established are not having any responsibility. Also, it reflects the lack of backward linkages with the research system, which is expected to provide latest update to the clients. With establishment of line departments, the extension efforts are also being pluralistic. With this pluralism, many times farmers, the receivers of extension services, are in a fix to decide which source of information to be accepted. Training and bridges system did not have any inbuilt mechanism to overcome such pluralism issues. Coming to the next limitation, that is, emphasis was on personal contact of extension agent with a few selected contact farmers. Extension officer was visiting a group of selected farmers to whom we identified them as contact farmers. We were discussing about the use of extension methods in earlier points. In the current approach of training and visit system, extension methodology was used, but it was one of the method of extension which focused. Instead, we would have gone for combination of various methodologies. Even for receivers, one method is going to be monotonous. This is what had happened in training and visit system. As there is change in technological development, accordingly, extension methodologies also have seen so many changes. Starting from farm and home visit to the latest information and communication technologies. In between, there are a range of technologies with different medium. Hence, extension always emphasizes on media mix. Media mix is going to provide an opportunity to all the senses to experience something, and outcome is going to be better learning and understanding. The next limitation that we are going to focus is the existing village leaders and village institutions have generally been neglected. With the identification of the contact farmers, the training and visit system provided a way for identification of a new clan of leaders. But the traditional leadership types and styles existing in the village start feeling sidelined. There was a gulf created between these two groups of leaders, and contact farmers became a source of jealousiness among the community. The reason behind was all those government officers who are on visit to villages shall only visit contact farmers, and it is already said that traditional leadership was totally neglected. Village is composed of established institutions. Traditionally, people have accepted these institutions, but new institutions should not neglect and supersede the traditionally established institutions. Lack of adequate interaction between contact farmers and other farmers was another limitation. As discussed in earlier issue, the contact farmers were new group of leaders emerged in the village along with the existing leaders. At times, they started feeling something different from others. The rest of the farmers who were supposed to get information from these contact farmers were started facing difficulties. The new order was established to smoothen the transfer of information from government institutions to ultimate users, but the channels identified in between started creating the noise. The entire process of communication was facing turbulations because of these contact farmers. As we have already seen in case of introduction, I have said the training and visit system was introduced in other parts of the world also, especially in developing and underdeveloped countries. The model of training and visit system was supported by World Bank. As we have already discussed, there were some limitations of T&V system elsewhere also. Hence, the United Nations Development Programme in the year 1990 enlisted the weaknesses of training and visit system in different parts of the world, and as reported by G.L. Ray, these limitations are as under. The first limitation that we come across is the limited use of mass media hindering the effectiveness, especially in reaching women and other small scale farmers. The issue was discussed earlier in Indian conditions, holds good for other countries also. There should be a perfect media mix suitable to technology and location in which the technology is being transferred. The second limitation that was reported was limited or no clientele involvement in the program development. The major drawback of the entire training and visit system was it was a top-down approach rather than the bottom-up approach. After about 2.5 decades, with lots of experiments under Atma, bottom-up approach has been adopted. But it was learnt from the experiences of training and visit system, the top-down approach leads to the achievement of the targets rather than motivating people. If we are interested in only achieving the targets, so then the motivation to the people takes the back seat. There was a totally lack of educative approach. Once there is a lack of educative approach, people get only one way of information. There is no persuasion and motivation. Hence, it is always emphasized to improve and involve end users in development of the program itself. So, the user should feel that it's my program and it is not somebody's program. The third limitation that we come across is recurrent cost problems that become serious when donor funding terminates. The issue discussed earlier as a staff-intensive in Indian condition holds good here. As long as there is financial support, it sounds better. But the moment financial aid is terminated, the state has to face the music. The nature of extension services are not yielding any financial gains for the governments. Even though indirectly the farmers are being benefited, in turn the income levels or the socio-economic conditions of the farmers or the receivers of these extension services are increased, but government is not getting any monetary benefit. It's only way to serve the people. Rather, governments accepted the program as a welfare state. The question remains is how long the state can support these welfare programs. It is difficult to translate these programs into cost-sharing basis as it addresses poorest of the poor. Hence, government started facing the problem. Because of which, in the post-1990s, there were many state-level innovations in extension service delivery in different states in Indian context. The third limitation that we come across is weak links with the research. Linkages with the research has already been discussed and it will be discussed under many contexts. Lack of adequate subject matter specialist capacity frequently resulting in the lack of appropriate technology. When we face lack of appropriate technology, then end users will lose interest in the system which is providing the technology. That is what had happened with the training and visit system. Learning from the experiences worldwide, Agriculture and Rural Development Department of the World Bank in the year 1990 gave the following recommendations which are applicable to India also. Agricultural extension requires effective organization and management tailored to suit the specific situations. This recommendation respects the location specificity of need of information based on cropping and farming systems in the specific region. Agricultural extension requires site-specific methodology and suitable technologies. The implication of the recommendation is research as well as extension both are to be situation specific. We cannot have the blanket recommendation for the state or any region. The third recommendation of the World Bank was agricultural extension must be relevant and responsive. There should be two-way communication between all the three elements of agricultural research and extension system. Strong linkages between research, extension and farmer were emphasized in the report. The fourth and most important recommendation was farmer participation is fundamental to sustainable extension. Hence, we observe the approaches adopted in the post-1990s include participatory approaches. In all the programs that were planned and implemented in the post-1990s, invariably having the stake of the ultimate end users. It may be participatory varietal development, participatory technology development, participatory watershed development, participatory breeding, so on and so forth. All these approaches, which were the products of post-1990s, were involving the end users in the process of planning, implementation as well as evaluation. After understanding the basic concept of training and research system, its key features, its model, limitations and the problems that are being faced at the international level regarding the training and visit system. Now, let us come to the conclusion. Extension is a continuous process and change is inevitable in extension methodologies. We cannot use yesterday's methods today and be in the business of tomorrow. That is why we say that change is inevitable in extension methodologies, but the process remains the same. That is, we are here to transform or bring the changes in the human behavior. That remains same, for which we are adopting different methodologies. Looking into the technological advancement, needs of the people, ability to access technologies, skill in accessing the technologies, these are various factors. Extension will be modifying its mode of delivery for the target communities. In earlier case, we were talking of the individual contact. Yes, it is going to remain, but in addition to that, we can have the other alternatives also making use of the information communication technologies. Ultimately, we will be transforming the farmer from a mere producer to a successful individual in the context of agriculture and allied disciplines. Thank you.